Hi, and welcome to One Acadiana's Candidate Conversation Series. I'm Keely McGivney, and this is Andre Bro here on the team at One Acadiana. As we enter another election season, One Acadiana is back with our Candidate Conversations video series. This time, we're interviewing candidates for Louisiana State Senate District 23, up for election on February 15th. This is a special election called to fill the Senate seat vacated by Jean-Paul Cusson, who was recently elected to the Louisiana Public Service Commission. We want voters in our region to get to know the candidates running for Senate.
That's right. And for today's chat, we're joined by State Representative Brock Myers. Representative Myers, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Andre and Keely.
We're going to start with just the basics. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Acadiana, born and raised. I'm husband to Carly, 20 years anniversary this past August. I'm father to my 14-year-old son, Emil, and been working in an LHC group, which was an organization my family started from nothing, candidly, 30 years ago in Acadiana, that has grown and been headquartered in Lafayette and employs over 30,000 people across our nation and thousands in our state and plenty inside, Lafayette alone. Very proud to have been a part of the growth of that organization and all that we've been able to accomplish and all that we've been able to pour back into the community because of the fantastic organization that we work in or brought together. Outside of that, my civic involvement, and I've been dedicated to our parish and to our city. Really, in the last 10 years, where I, really was able to branch out so much and work with organizations like One Acadiana. And a special place in my heart has always been youth programmatics and youth education. And I've spent the last decade working all over the state, but also, very magnified inside Acadiana with our Boys and Girls Clubs. I've chaired both the state board, the alliance as well, and been serving the board here in Acadiana, as I said, for 10 years. But also been on the Community Foundation of Acadiana board, where I led Civic Leadership Committee, was able to be a part of the executive committee through my full term there. I know at one time my wife said, whenever I ran for the legislature, she said, well, you put down a few of the civic projects now because I've been involved in so many, but it's where my heart is. I mean, it is. Service is a big part of my values, of my family's values. I walk in every day to an office that all over the walls are plastered the words, it's all about helping people. And it's a constant reminder that, no matter what we're doing, especially here in Acadiana, it's something that we embrace. It's how can we help others in our life and what we're doing every day.
Well, thank you for sharing more about yourself, and to kind of continue on that space, can you speak to what inspired you to run for state senate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm a dad, and I know people say this a lot, and you hear it a lot, but I got to tell you, when you feel it, when you say it, that we want our kids to be here. When I talk to families, when I talk to grandparents, moms and dads that are watching their kids grow up and leave this state, it's hurtful. We got a lot of problems to tackle, and I think honestly, as a state representative in the last year, I've been proud to say that I've been part of some of those solutions that are now coming forward. But for me, it's been about bringing that change into our state. I think we're ready for it. We don't want to continue to. I don't want to continue to educate, Texas's workforce and Alabama's workforce and Mississippi's workforce. More than anything, my son grew up hunting and fishing over here, just like I have. Right? We love what the Louisiana has to offer, and I don't want to make that a hard choice for him. And I don't think it will be. We're going to work hard for that, but it's what's called me, into service, fighting for, this next generation and making sure we're holding true to our values here, but making this place the great place it needs to be and can continue to be to live and work.
Thank you. Let's talk about issues impacting Senate District 23 in the state of Louisiana, and we'll start with near-term issues. Is there an immediate priority or priorities you would really like to dig into immediately if you were elected to the state Senate?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not going to be a whole lot different than priorities that I saw this year as a House member in the House of Representatives. But in the state Senate, I know I have that much more of an ability to impact the change. And that's clearly, for me, it's insurance. I mean, it's We cannot continue down the path that we're on at this point in time. For car insurance, we're almost, an average $3,000, annual premium. We are the highest in the nation. We're number one. That's the list you don't want to be number one on, right? We're fighting to be number one for a lot of things. That's not it. For our home insurance, it's almost a $1,700 increase $1,700 over the national average is where we sit today in Louisiana. Our citizens, even if we continue to make the tax cuts that I was proud to be a part of here last year, we can continue to make those tax cuts for them. If we don't get insurance under control, it's not helping those families day to day. And so, look, I've been one of the members calling for a special session. We've got to get back in there and solve the insurance problem for our citizens. So, Andrea, great question. And honestly, it's one that certainly have a lot of priorities. But if you ask me, number one, that's the number one priority. We've got to get this fixed.
And continuing on issues, if we're looking toward the future in the longer term, what are some long-term challenges that you believe the state Senate needs to focus on addressing in the next few years?
Look, we've got to grow our economy. We have to. And thank you for the work that you guys are doing and organizations like yours throughout our state. As I said, the path to prosperity is getting people educated and into the workforce. So we've got big things that we started tackling this year. And again, I was proud to be a part of where we've taken the steps to reform education and taking the steps to put better controls on our crime. But we've got to grow our economy at the end of the day. I think that the administration's done a great job bringing Susan Bourgeois, and she's bringing a lot of new ideas to the table. We worked hand in glove with her through the special tax session this year to try to start putting in place things that, again, over time, we're going to be able to bring more jobs and more opportunities into the state of Louisiana, like Meta. That is just a catalyst change for North Louisiana. We're going to see those things down here. Look, I hear our governor say it a lot, and I agree with him. We have to figure out how to broaden our base, right? We can lower taxes for families and make this an easier place for them to live and work and raise their families. But we need to stop losing our population. We lost almost 17,000 people in a year. We've got to put a stop on that, and we've got to start figuring out the jobs to get people to stay in and actually recruiting people into our state.
Speaking of growing the economy, one of Acadiana's top advocacy priorities impacting economic development is infrastructure investment. And as you know, the capital outlay process plays a big role in funding infrastructure projects across the state. If elected to this Senate seat, is there a capital outlay project or projects that you would seek funding for in the next term?
Yeah, I think the most impactful project for us throughout Lafayette Parish is one that we all been working on for a long time. And that's the I-49 connector. I think that is one of those catalyst changes for us where, we see the jobs, the organizations coming in here. Now, we all know that project is going to lose priority. I wouldn't say lose priority, but it's going to be pushed a couple of years, given some of the things we just had in the last session. But I would say that any chance that we have as legislative members to make sure that we continue to move projects forward to help accelerate that project, the better off we're going to be long-term in this parish and better off for the Senate district. Look, when you ask, examples of that, the Collie Sloom interchange, that's going to be a big part of the I-49 connector here in Lafayette. And that may be going through engineering and stuff, but it doesn't have funding yet. So if we can get funding to get these pieces of the project done, so whenever we get the larger federal funding and grants to really push I-49 connector in place, we have the smaller pieces done. Andre, outside of that piece of it, each one of our mayors inside Senate District 23, and I've met with all of them, they have their own priority projects, their own infrastructure projects that are important to them, drainage, roads, and each one of them is seeing growth. We're very fortunate in Lafayette Parish, as you all know. And again, thank you for your work, because we're one of the few parishes that saw an increase in population. And so, these mayors and these councils are working very hard to prioritize those projects. As legislative members, we get their priority projects and we work with them to figure out what their needs are. So that's what I would continue to do. Is I did it in the House with District 45. In the Senate district, I believe in the leadership that we have in these townships and in these cities, and I believe that working with them to say what's your priority, obviously checks and balances, making sure that the issue is there and something that we can solve, that's good use of taxpayer money, then we lean into it with their projects as well.
Well, thank you for your thoughts on issues and infrastructure. We want to turn it back to you. So, what do you want to tell voters in District 23? Why should they elect you to the state Senate?
Yes, look, I've had 4 sessions in the Louisiana legislature in the House of Representatives. 4 sessions. Most people get that in a full 4-year term. They get 4 sessions. We had it literally in 12 months. I've learned to navigate that Capitol. I've learned how to work with the staff. And by the way, we have some amazing staff inside the Capitol that are working with us all the way up and down, all the floors in the departments. I've built the relationships in both sides, both the Senate and the House. And those are all very important things to get things done in our Capitol. I remember, foolishly thinking and answering questions as a House candidate and saying, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that. And the reality is there's no one in that Capitol that's doing anything on their own. And from day one, since I've been in that Capitol, I changed what I used to say, what I've always said. And I said, we are going to, because it takes 50% of the votes in each chamber plus one at a minimum to get a bill passed and to get the support you need to get your projects done. Relationships matter. Respect matters. And I have spent the last year working on that. I'm ready to go in there on day one. There's not going to be a build-up period for me. I've earned the respect of my colleagues and I respect them wholeheartedly. And I do believe that on day one, I'll be able to fulfill the needs of Senate District 23 in the Capitol.
Well, thank you again, Representative Myers. We really appreciate your time today to help the community get to know you better. One last question for you. How can voters further engage with you and get more information about your campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our website, Brach Myers, it's BRACHMYERS.com, is a great place to go to connect with us. You can grab a yard sign from us. I've got family volunteers that run out there and do these things for us, as do my wife and my son and I. On top of that, we've got our social media. Link in with us there because we're consistently putting new events up. Last week we had a great event raising money for veterans. We partnered with Wayne Toops and Dustin Poirier at Rock and Bowl, which was just a phenomenal night for veterans that we were able to raise a bunch of money for them and for the Good Fight Foundation and just really celebrate, the sacrifice that those patriots are making for us. We're going to do more things like that, over the course of this campaign. So keep in touch with us on our social media platforms so that you can, see what we have upcoming.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. All right, everyone. That was State Representative Brach Myers joining us. He's a candidate for Louisiana Senate District 23. Representative Myers, thank you so much again for spending time with us and good luck in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Keely Andre, and thank you for the work you guys are doing.